This is War Room Moments, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and most relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. War Room Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board. Here's your host, Jason Miller.
Well, hey, welcome to the War Room today, David. Great to have you here, brother. And I think we get a little bit of uniqueness from the New York Stock Exchange today. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the other War Room is happening behind me. Great history here, and I'm hosting my vice president of sales, his very first trip to New York City, very first stop, the New York Stock Exchange, on the floor, interviews, and getting to ring the bell, and we're gonna have a good time.
Man, that's awesome. Wish I was there with a beer in hand with you. Maybe next time.
Yeah, of course, you're always invited. Thank you for having me here, though.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, I'm sure most people in our audience know who you are, but if you just want to give people just a little 30-second soundbite, I'm terrible at introducing people. I'm an Army guy, man, and I'm bad at doing that. So just if you can give everybody just a touch about you.
Yeah, I'm Dave Meltzer, speaker, author, entrepreneur. Lived a life in 3 different worlds, not enough, just enough, and now I live my life after losing over $100 million over the last 16 years to empower over 1 billion people to live in the world of more than enough, teaching them how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. The secret sauce of success.
That's absolutely it, man. Hell, I couldn't even have said that any better.
Thank you.
That is the sauce for sure, man. Well, hey, it's great to have you here. And, the idea here behind the show is we're able to share your story. This isn't a Q&A. I don't like Q&A stuff. And I really want your story to empower people through lessons learned. Okay. And so I kind of like to take people back and say, which kicks it off. And that is, did you come from a family of entrepreneurs or business owners?
I came from a family of doctors, lawyers, and failures. And you can imagine where the entrepreneurs fell in. So my mom, my father, who's was an entrepreneur, left when I was 5. So we had a lot of pressure to be a doctor or a lawyer. But somehow after law school, I found my way immediately in 1992 to entrepreneurship, where I remember my mom telling me I got involved in the internet in 1992, that the internet was a fad, it will never last, and I was making the biggest mistake by not being a lawyer. And that's when I learned my first lesson. I know that's what the War Room's about. I learned the lesson of just because someone loves you, and trust me, my mom loves me way too much. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. And it was the first time I didn't really take my mom's advice. And thank goodness, because I became a millionaire 9 months out of law school by not being a lawyer.
Yeah, that's great because, you and I share similar stories in that my family was very entrepreneurial. My dad owned a farm, my mom owned restaurants, so on and so forth in town. And I grew up on a small farm in Montana. And, the idea was, well, you go do your military service, come back here and farm, right? And it was like, no. I don't think so. I don't think so. And why?
Smart.
Because the world is such a bigger place and it's our job to explore it, right? And if we don't, man, that's on you. And you got to get out there and do things. Look at you. You're at the freaking New York Stock Exchange today. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I pinch myself every day, ironically, right? That those people that are brave enough to not worry about what other people think, that don't live in FOPO, fear of other people's opinion, and they develop through making a shitload of mistakes, the skills that are necessary, the knowledge of who and what that's necessary. and increasing their desire, their inspiration every single day to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of their own potential, they're going to end up pinching themselves every day, blessed, living in the world more than enough. And that's where I'm at. That's what I learned how to do.
Yeah, it's all I've never heard that one. FOPO. I love that. That is so awesome. And I'm gonna have to steal that from you.
Please do.
It's
I'm
so
sure I stole it from someone else as well. It's perfect.
it's so true though. People worry so much about other people's opinions nowadays that, I mean, when it just comes all the way down to, say, for instance, your kids' parents that you're friends with, everybody worries about, oh, what do they think? This, that, and the other. And I personally, I look at it this way. I got 30, 35 years at best left on the planet. Man, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah. You can't be afraid of those mistakes. You know, you'll never overachieve your own self-image. And so
Yeah.
continually build that self-image, and all other people do is limit you and limit your self-image. So why do it? Appreciate them, right? I always say, you know, appreciate what they're telling you by having it add value to who you are, not limit you or interfere with your value. And unfortunately, especially with social media, too many people allow the FOPO, the other people, constricting the better self, the higher self, the better life that they could be leading.
Yeah, no kidding. You cut out just a little bit there, but you're back. But yeah, the God, the idea of freedom, and for you, you know, my idea of freedom has always been service, service to others, service to country, service to people, so on and so forth. And, you know, you coming from the place that you came from, where you saw like the deepest, darkest depths of where you could be, right? And it's a great testament, though, that, man, it doesn't matter. You can come back from things. And if there's, gosh, one thing people take out of this right now, this podcast, is be inspired, right? Be inspired by what other people are doing too. And be inspired by people like you and people that are just out there rocking it every single day.
Well, it's so funny, right? We live in a world where, especially in America, and thank you so much for all that service. My name actually means, David means beloved. Meltzer means servant or waiter. So I live my life as a beloved servant to others. But this is the only country in the world, talk about freedom, that at any time in your life, you could be living on the street with absolutely nothing, and you whatever you could end richest person in the world, the most famous author in the world, you could be the best musician in the world, you could have the biggest business in the world, you could have the biggest charity in the world, you could have absolutely nothing. You don't even need a place to live. And this country has so much freedom of options, opportunities, and touches of favor that if you have free will, that freedom to achieve whatever your potential is available to every single American. And I will tell you, after traveling the entire world, there's no other country that has that freedom, not one in the entire world, where you can, at any time in your life, be lying destitute, drunk, on drugs, it doesn't matter, on the street, and still wake up the next morning and create a trajectory, a divine direction to being the greatest of all time at whatever you want to be the greatest at all time at.
Yeah, man. Gosh, I hope people are hearing you preach that, because it's true. I mean, I'm an example of it. You're an example of it. You can look at so many examples in history of people that, you know, they just kept getting knocked down, knocked down, knocked down. Like I had Joe Foster on. about a month ago, the founder of Reebok. It's the young kids don't know who that is, but you and I can appreciate the name. But
Yeah.
and his story is not one of success for like 40 years, right? But he just kept on going and going and going and going. And that's what we do as, take the business part out of it, just in life itself. Man, you got to just keep getting back up. Otherwise, life's got you by the kahunas. Own life. Don't let it be the
Yeah.
other
You
way.
got to find, yeah, you got to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything. The more you give, the more you're given. Most people don't feel worthy of what they're given, so they cheat themselves with mottos like the more I give, the more I receive, which is true only if you recognize what you're given and you feel worthy of everything you're given. If you skip those middle two steps, you'll be waiting to receive things and you'll end up in a zero-sum game by being a good person, generous and kind, and only giving without receiving or asking for more. And so there is an infinite loop of abundance. There is an infinite loop of more than enough of everything for everyone if you're willing to do the work, not only in giving, but recognizing what we're given, and most importantly, receiving it and asking for more.
Yeah, absolutely. I call that criminal exchange, right? Where,
Right?
where you give, but you're not expecting something back, and then somebody gets mad about it, right? So there was a criminal exchange that happened there, right?
I love it. That's
so,
so smart.
so we should always have two sides of the coin, right? And if we go into relationships, partnerships, all those kind of things, right? If we go into those things with those expectations set, man, the magic you can create. Hell, I was just in Arizona and did a $5 billion deal. So it's like, but value brings value, right? So it's like set the table, but set the table to favor all, not just one. Now I'm
That's
preaching.
beautiful. That's good. I love it.
Oh man. Well, hey, there was a lot of lessons right there that we just went over, but let's say for our hard-headed knuckleheads on the call that didn't grab anything from that, if you had three key pieces of advice that you would give to, maybe a new founder that's coming up and they're just waiting to take them arrows in their back. They're already loose, right? What are a few things that you would give for advice to dodge them as they're on their way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll stay in business. If you stay in business, sooner or later, you'll figure it out. And so if your number one objective every morning as a startup, as an entrepreneur, is make sure that I got at bats tomorrow, that I'm going to be in business, then make sure you always go to bed with enough money to make sure you're in business tomorrow. That's all you have to worry about. Two, ask for help. The fastest way to get to where you want to be is to find someone that sits in the situation you want to be in and ask them for directions. So make sure you stay in business. Two, ask for help. And then three, it's the common denominator of all successful people. I'm blessed to have one of the top podcasts. We've done over 1,500 episodes with the biggest billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, entertainers. And there's a, and that's, you must have the desire that you must be what you can be. You got to do your best, learn lessons, and have fun within the context of that common denominator. So if you stay in business, if you find people that sit in a situation you want to be in and ask for help, and you have a desire that you must be what you can be, I guarantee you will make a lot of money, you will help a lot of people, and you will have a lot of fun. And I've never met anyone on earth that makes a lot of money, helps a lot of people, and has a lot of fun that isn't happy. So in other words, you'll be happy.
Yeah, it's funny you said the fun part because that sparked something that Joe said, and he said his three rules: you got to have fun, more fun, and it has to be an absolute hoot.
Hey, right on.
But
Yeah,
it's
Joe
true.
sits on the board of a sneaker company with me. He's
Oh, does he?
great.
Yeah, for sure. He's a lot of fun. I think he just was on tour for his book down in Florida. So um
Yeah.
yeah, but man, that's great advice. You know, I always look at things in threes, right? So the strongest shape in nature is a triangle. So when you can set up anything with 3 points, right, of leverage, that's where you win. So those 3 points of leverage that you just gave, if those are implemented, and gosh, you just really can't go wrong for sure. So um but I don't ask a lot of questions in the show purposely, because look at the kick-ass conversation we just got to have. But I do like to ask this question as kind of closing the show down, is if you could have invited anybody here today, dead or alive, doesn't matter. The person doesn't matter, dead or alive, to be here with us today, listen in or contribute, whatever it is. Who would have you loved to have here on the show with us today?
Well, it's a tough choice between Jesus Christ and Einstein. But I'd have to go, as I always do, with Jesus, because I think if we could have him with us today, we could have a conversation that would bring the world together by finding some truths and helping people appreciate the differences in the truth. And for me, although it's hard for me to be here, I'm speaking in Einstein's lab tomorrow at Princeton. I'm here with the Einstein of Wall Street and the New York Stock Exchange. So it was hard to overachieve the two biggest brands ever created, Jesus Christ and Einstein. But I'm going to have to give Einstein the nod. Jesus the nod to be with us today. But if we could have two people, those are the two I'd love to have with us.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And two great choices too, right? Einstein, how would have you loved to just sit with him for just 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just been able
they're
to,
both incredible.
yeah, and just have been able to like formulate the two right questions that you could ask. And that's it. Because that's like I always
I'd
tell
ask
people.
a question about time. I'd ask a question about time and a question about space. Those would be the
There you go.
I'd ask.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, David, reaching out to your team for the things you do, the things you can help business owners and people with, and so forth. Where do you want to direct them to reach out to your team?
Well, thank you for asking. In fact, for your community, I want to offer, I will sign a book. I will send it to you, pay for shipping, pay for the book. Just email me is the easiest way to get in touch with me. David@dmeltzer.com is my email address. David@dmeltzer.com. If you forget my email address, which is david@dmeltzer.com, just Google David Meltzer and you'll find me everywhere. Get a book, I'll sign it, send it, pay for shipping and the book. I certainly appreciate the War Room. Appreciate you. Everybody enjoy New York and the New York Stock Exchange. I can't wait to have our next conversation. Come and join me, my friend.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, I always say we all got the same 168 every week. You're doing amazing things, brother. Keep doing them. Thanks for coming on the show, and let's connect. Talk soon. Love to see you in New York.
Thank you. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, brother.
Thanks for listening to War Room Moments with your host, Jason Miller. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.